Something weird is happening. Alcohol hasn't disappeared, but suddenly everyone you know is taking a break. It's not a rebellion, it's more like a quiet unfollow. Welcome back to Bargain Brand Wellness. Tonight, we're unpacking why quitting drinking feels like it's everywhere, even though the bars still seem to be packed tight. We'll break down perception versus reality, belief shifts, and what's really changing beneath the surface. So grab your non-alcoholic beverage and a coaster and get ready to rethink the way alcohol shapes or shows up in our daily lives. Welcome to Wellness. So today's video comes from Sober Leon. Title of the video is Why is Everyone Quitting Alcohol? And then in parentheses, new movement. Let's check out this first part of this video, this chapter 1, where it feels like everyone just up and quit.
Why are so many people quitting alcohol? What is going on out there? Everywhere you look, there's somebody else that's just stopped drinking. Maybe a friend just quit, maybe a family member just quit, maybe you're looking online and then see some celebrity story, then you look on YouTube and this person stopped drinking, and then you're seeing this stop drinking company, and then you're seeing this 0% alcohol. Everywhere you look, it's like this new wave of everybody's just not drinking anymore. But why is this happening? What's going on? If you actually go and look at the statistics, there's only a very few percentage shifts in how many people do and don't drink. It's not like the whole world's actually stopping drinking. Alcohol companies are still making billions. You walk down the street and if you go past a bar, it's still filled with people, but at the same time, it almost seems like everybody else is stopping. Well, today in this video, I'm going to explain exactly why this is happening. And it's not what you think, right? I have made a video talking about the world is becoming more competitive and how more people are sharing their stories online. But I actually realized something recently. I realized that it's actually something totally different. It's not about the world being more competitive, but we'll get into this. But once you understand why so many people are stopping drinking, it will make your journey 10 times easier, because I saw a pattern, and this pattern will change the game for you. Now,
So I like how he starts the video is that the perception is different than the actual statistics. It's not people quitting, right? There has been a shift. There has been a lot of people, I think, starting to change up over the years, especially over the last few years, really since COVID pandemic kind of lightened up a little bit. But the bars are still full. Alcohol companies are doing better than they ever did. I think just maybe some people are shifting their alcohol consumption usage, not quitting outright. Even myself, I talk about on here how it's been, going on to my 4th year of not drinking any longer. And I never actually came out and said I quit. I just lost a taste for it. I just stopped and I haven't started back up. I've said before, I'll probably drink again, but I'm just going to enjoying this ride and just want to see how long it'll go. So the perception is different than the actual statistics. Visibility bias is driven typically by social media. So the people who you're seeing in your algorithm. And as I said in the video, there are millions of people online. You're not interacting with all of them. You're interacting with people who are watching the same stuff who also share some of your experiences. So if you have recently quit drinking or cut back on your alcohol usage, guess what? There's a good chance you're going to interact with those who have also been on the same journey. Why does this trend feel bigger than they are? I think a lot of it just comes down to because it's new. It's been kind of new. We needed something to shift after the pandemic. I think a lot more people are on this wellness journey. We know over the last couple of decades, wellness, health has been a trend. So it's trying to figure out what's real is you can cut back. That's a very real thing. We know ultimately it's not the greatest thing for you, but it's okay in moderation. So reflection question before we finish up chapter 1 is, what changes in your life feel larger simply because you're noticing them more now? I know for myself, it's the ability to slow down, take one moment at a time. And by no means am I perfect at it. I have my slip ups daily, but I make it a point, baby steps, to really do well, pay attention, become aware, and slow down where I can. All right, chapter 2 of today's video talks about how there's nothing to gain. So let's look at this next portion.
actually quitting. So last night I was on the phone to my nana. And me and my nana, we have a very good relationship. We call regularly, we stay in touch, and she actually watches the videos, so shout out to you, Nana, if you're watching this, hello. Now, she said something to me on the call last night that she's never actually shared before, and she won't mind me sharing this. It's not too personal, but she said something. She said, Leon, do you know what? I just wish I never drank. And she said that if I had access to the information and a channel like yours 30, 40 years ago, there's no way I would have ever touched the stuff. And she said different people come to this realization at different points in their life, and she's coming to this realization now that there really is nothing in alcohol. There's no benefit to gain from drinking this drug. You literally gain absolutely nothing, and she's now realizing that all it does is take from you. Now, obviously, if you think alcohol gives you something, of course you're going to drink it, right? The same way that if you think exercise is going to give you something, you're going to exercise. If you truly believe alcohol gives you something, you'll continue to consume the stuff. But she's come to this realization of, Leon's right. These ideas are right. There's really nothing to gain from drinking alcohol. Now, my nana's not drank for a while, but then I thought to myself, wow, even my nana, everybody's just not drinking anymore. And it got me thinking, why is this happening? I think about my friends, and hardly any of my friends drink alcohol. And in fact, when people join the Sober Clear program, the coaching program that I run, soberclear.com, they also start to comment on this. They say that they go to a bar, they go to a party where they were worried about not drinking, but then they look around and it's like so many other people weren't drinking. And they can't quite explain it. But on that phone call to my nana the other night, everything clicked in my mind. Just could all of a sudden see.
So I really like the idea of reframing alcohol use as you're losing something or it's taking something rather than you're gaining something or it's a reward. A lot of us, I think when we consume alcohol, we think of the relaxation benefit, that it relaxes us, it makes us forget, it makes us less sad, or we can just chill. But when you actually think about what it takes from you, it dehydrates you. Drinking enough, you're gonna wake up with a hangover, a headache, might be a little woozy, inability to drive. It can reframe the context of how you accept that. And then, which kind of fits into the video's next point, which talks about the hindsight and regret. His grandmother said that had she had something like this 30, 40 years ago, she probably would have never touched it. Now, is that true? That's what we like to call hindsight bias. And it doesn't mean that it's not true, but hindsight bias is 2020, right? We can look back especially after we have also confirmation bias. Once we know that thing to be true or something is to be different than what we thought, it's easy for us to say, I knew it. I should have went with my gut instinct on that thing. It's easier said than done. But there wasn't a lot of information years ago, 30 to 40 years ago, or even further back. Smoking was said to be healthy. Doctors used to prescribe it. Even now, they still say that moderate alcohol use is actually somewhat beneficial for you. A beer every once in a while is supposed to clean out your kidneys. Red wine is supposed to have a lot of antioxidants. It's supposed to be good for your blood. It's that moderation piece that a lot of us are missing. And then the last part of the video talks about information access changing decisions. As we have all learned over the last few years about the damage that alcohol does, and this is not new information, right? There's a reason that prohibition happened back in the early 1900s is because we knew it wasn't a great thing for you. It was considered a poison at one point, not even necessarily a drug. So we know that it's not the best thing for you, and we are consumers by nature. That's why so many people get addicted to alcohol, because the ability to just have that one drink every once in a while is tough for a lot of us. So your last reflective question before we jump over to the next chapter is, what belief about alcohol did you inherit rather than choose? You may not have inherited from your family and friends, but you probably got it from somewhere. Most of us got that it relaxes you. It chills you out. It mellows you out. And in some cases that is true, but get enough in you and it raises your emotions back up. In fact, it actually takes you above baseline typically. All right, chapter 3 of today's video talks about the mirror effect of alcohol use.
It clicked. What you are experiencing right now in your external world, when you're seeing people stop drinking alcohol, has got nothing to do with what's actually going on in the world. It has everything to do with your inner world. All that's happening is something's changing on the inside. There's something changing in your inner world, in your beliefs, in your view of alcohol, and that's just getting reflected to you in the external world. I know that sounds a little bit strange, but it's almost like this mirror effect. If you're seeing that everybody's seemingly stopping drinking, something is changing within you. Either it's already changed and you're already on this path and you're already not drinking, or maybe not. Maybe you're questioning your beliefs around alcohol and you're starting to see new information. Stuff that before you would have totally ignored. Maybe a video like mine is something that you're not scrolling past anymore. Oh, that's matching with these ideas that I've had, click. Whereas before you might have been tone deaf to hearing somebody that's just stopped drinking, now you stop drinking. And as your inner world changes, everything that gets reflected to you in the external world starts to change as well. That's all that's going on here. It's not that everybody's stopping drinking, because they're not. The companies are still making a tremendous amount of profit, but all that's happening is your reality is changing.
So we already talked about this earlier a little bit, in that it's probably boiled down to your inner beliefs are shaping what you see in the outside world. You're looking for these things. You're paying more attention. They were already there. You just became oblivious to them. It's kind of like how when you go to buy a new car, then all of a sudden everybody has that car. That's not true. You just are noticing now because you have that car, so you're paying more attention to it. Same thing happens whenever you're trying out some new trend, or today's example, it seems like everybody's just quit drinking. We talked earlier about hindsight bias, and we dipped our toe into confirmation bias a little bit. But confirmation bias is a very real thing when we cherry pick information to prove our point. It's funny, we do That's Debatable on the show with Nova. And the reason there's never any real true winner for a debate is because you can have your thoughts on something, I could have my thoughts on something, and we can both go out and we can find resources to support what we say, with the exception of something like really polarizing. That's really awful that 99% of people wouldn't agree with. So confirmation bias is a very real thing. But change can feel contagious, right? When you do see those other people changing things in their life, it gives you that reassurance, that confirmation that you're doing the right thing, and you continue down that path. The one thing that a lot of us forget to do is reach out, support others, ask for support. That'll help you keep on that trail. No one's asking you to be judgmental, super altruistic, make you feel like you're better than other people. You're deciding to make a positive life change for yourself. Keep it up, see if you can find support and assist other people on that same journey. So your next reflection question before we jump over to question 4 is, how has your inner dialogue shaped what you notice lately? I know for me, not even necessarily surrounding the idea of alcohol use, because it's been quite time since I've had a drink, but how I've noticed that inner dialogue is taking the time to just slow down and notice the little things in life. Find a little bit of appreciation or gratitude for every little thing. Things happen for a reason. That reason could be minuscule. It may not even shake the earth, but it can have an impact later in your life. So, all right, moving into chapter 4 of today's video, we're talking about beliefs over willpower.
Now, why is this a good thing? And why does this even matter? And how can you actually take advantage of this? Well, I always talk about how stopping drinking is about changing your beliefs around alcohol. That's the foundation of everything, right? Coaching can be helpful, communities can be helpful, but the foundation of stopping drinking lies on your beliefs around alcohol. Because once you change your inner world, once you change your thought process, once you're able to see an advertisement of alcohol and quickly go, wait a minute. Once you're able to get a thought of drinking and then think, why would I want to drink that? Well, once you're changing these inner conversations that are happening in your mind and you're ignoring the conditioning and you're ignoring the marketing and you're able to catch that inner talk, well, once you get a solid foundation there, that's when your external world starts shifting. That's when you start attracting different people into your life where relationships don't revolve around drinking. That's when you start seeing things online. That's when you start being receptive to these messages. And the way that you take advantage of this is you use first principles thinking. You break the problem down into its component parts and you start changing beliefs. That's all first principles thinking is. It's breaking problems down into their component parts, studying the individual ideas of each of the component parts of the problem and changing things. And we're able to do this with anything. I remember there was a time when I had a scooter. So when I first moved to Thailand, I'd ride around on this moped, this 125cc. And then my friend let me go on his motorbike. So he had a Kawasaki 650cc, and it was the first time I went on a big bike. And I came back to my 125cc scooter, and it just felt so slow, it felt so boring. And I was like, right, I need to upgrade. I need to get a motorbike. And now it's on my mind, and I'm thinking about it. And then it was like, all I could see everywhere were big motorbikes. Literally, I couldn't see scooters anymore. I just saw a motorbike. And because I was in the market for a motorbike, that's all I could see. And of course, I ended up getting the motorbike. I don't ride bikes anymore. Listen, I just think it's just way too dangerous. And I get a little bit carried away when I'm on a motorbike. So I stopped riding now. But you get the point. My inner conversations had changed, my external worldview started to change. So the way that we can take advantage of this is we need to start analyzing our worldview, our inner conversations, our beliefs. This is exactly what I do in my program. In the Sober Clear program, this is what it's all about. It's about diving into these individual beliefs. Now, I'm not saying you need my program. Would it be helpful? Of course it would be helpful, but it's not necessary. It'll shortcut the process, it'll make it easier, but you can catch these ideas yourself. But if you're recognizing that everybody's stopping drinking, guess what? You're on the right path, and if you keep going, guess what's going to happen? Your entire life will change.
Interesting. I like what he talked about, how behavior change starts internally, right? We can have these outward thoughts of what it is we need to, but we have to have the inward. We talked a lot about motivation. We have to have that inward motivation to get ourselves to start to make that change. Now, as we know, motivation isn't going to carry you to the finish line, but it's a really great starter to get you going. And then he talks about the first principles thinking, which I'd never heard of before, but I like the idea of it. It really simplifies how to fix a problem. You take whatever problem it is and break it down into each component. And don't try to address the whole problem. Address each little piece, one thing at a time. Let's figure out this little piece, then this. It's kind of like whenever I first started working on cars. You lift up the hood of a car, you see all these different pieces. It can be overwhelming until you learn where to focus on. If I know I'm dealing with the issue with my engine keeps overheating, I know I probably need to focus near the radiator, somewhere around that area. The problem, I don't need to look at the battery. I don't probably need to look at spark plugs or underneath. I can probably focus on a certain area first and then move on to other pieces. Very interesting thought. And then the last part here, he talks about identity over discipline. And that's true. Discipline and motivation kind of fit hand in hand. People say you need motivation to get there. You need discipline. No, you just need to change your identity. So if you're someone who doesn't want to drink anymore, that is who your identity needs to be. I am someone who doesn't drink. I am a non-drinker, not I quit drinking. I don't drink. I am someone who prioritizes feeling better rather than feeling like crap because I went out last night. Right? So changing your identity is really important. And your last reflective question before we wrap up the video: what belief would need to change for your habits to follow naturally? For many of us, it's the belief that we can make that change. You have the strength, you have the resilience, and you probably have at least some supports to help you make that. Habits don't change overnight. It takes little baby steps here and there. All right. So tonight's video hasn't been about telling anyone to quit drinking. It's about understanding why the conversation is changing. Sometimes growth doesn't look loud or rebellious. It looks quiet, curious, intentional. Whether you drink, don't drink, or you're just questioning things, awareness alone is a powerful shift. If tonight's episode sparks something, share with someone you care about, or drop your thoughts in the comments. Until next time, keep questioning the habits you inherited, and as always, make it worth your wellness.